welcome to Soul Standing. My name is Beth, and I am back with my top 4 and 5-star reads of 2024. If you would like to see my stats for the year or my top 3-star reads, check the video before this where I laid all that out. Now, most of these books I listened to on Audible or Everand, or I read them on my Kindle app or via my school. So I do not have physical copies to hold up for you. There's actually a couple that I know that I have the physical copy somewhere, but could not find it for the life of me. And I wanted to get this video up. So what I'm going to do is just tell you the name. And then if I can figure out my editing program, I will put the book up. If not, then you'll just have to take my word for it that it is a real book. And if you want to know more about it, ask me or look it up. I don't know. All right, my top 4-star reads are The Wild Book by Juan Villoro. I listened to this on Everand. It is a Spanish book that was translated to English. It is a middle grade novel, and I actually I didn't write the book. I wrote an essay for one of my classes in the fall. My final essay was comparing the Marvelous Reel in the Wild Book to the Marvelous Reel in Gabriel Garcia Marquez's Very Old Man with Enormous Wings. And I made 100 on the paper. So the book is definitely good luck. Next, I have Understanding Comics, The Invisible Art by Scott McCloud. This is one that I read for the children's literature course on graphic narratives that I took over the summer. And there were actually a couple of books. So there was the Scott McCloud book, and then there was another one by Tim somebody or another, which almost made it to my top 3-star list and was about the rise of the graphic novel. Great books. I really enjoyed them. Next, I have all of the Crescent City books, or at least the first 3 by Sarah J. Maas. I just put Crescent City on there. I finished the first one in January, immediately read the second one, and then when the next book came out, maybe ACOTAR book, I don't remember. Anyway, my friend Miranda wanted me to read them with her, and so my first video in January of this year, I talked about that, and it has made it to my top 4-star reads, which is surprising considering the fact that I DNF'd it when it first came out because it made me very angry. And I did have to pause at the same spot and talk myself into continuing on to finish it. And it did end up being a solid 4 stars, as were the next couple of books in the series. Then I have Shakespeare and the Folktale, an anthology of stories by Charlotte Artis. This one I read for an essay I was writing in the Shakespeare course I took last spring. And Charlotte Artis has taken like classic local folk tales and related them to the stories that Shakespeare wrote. And it was very, very interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed what she did. She did a little bit of, nonfiction stuff. So she would talk a little bit about the area, how it connected to the play, and then, the differences between them, and then give you a couple of the different folktales and around the time that they came out. Is it possible that this or an earlier version was what he used, etc. Next, I have Light for the World to See, which was a little short poetry deal by Kwame Alexander. Absolutely loved it. I have a copy of that, cannot find it. Then I have What'll I Do Without You by Michelle Schusterman, which is a middle grade book centering on a girl, her dog, and the colony of blue fairy penguins in Australia. It's absolutely a glorious book. Again, I have a copy. I've shown you the copy before. Could not find it for the life of me. However, That's all right because it is a fabulous book and I've already talked to you about it, so you've seen its cover. Next, I have the Nikki Thornton books. She writes middle grade mystery books. We read all of the Seth Seppi books as well as the Howling Hag mysteries by Nikki Thornton, and Elena and I both loved them and gave them all a solid 3.5 to 4.5 stars. And then finally, the most surprising 4-star book for me this year was the Bromance Book Club by Lissa K. Adams. I got it because everybody was talking about it a couple of years ago. And it's been sitting on my shelf since then. I finally just randomly picked it up on a whim and read it a couple of months ago. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I will be picking up the next book at some point, but I don't have it physically in my home, and there are other books I want to get to. Eventually, though, I will pick up the second book in this series. This is my most surprising 4-star read because I thought for sure I was going to end up DNFing it, and instead, I absolutely enjoyed all of it. Now, moving on to my top 5-star reads. This year, I have been reading through the All Souls series as a buddy read with Fiona over at Reads and Eats. They are by Deborah Harkness. It's a discovery of witches and all of those. And that entire series averages between like a 4.5 and solid 5-star for me. So while I think I gave a discovery of witches a 4-star, and then the other couple that we've read 5-star, I have averaged the whole series together as a 5-star series, and that is the first thing I wanted to tell you about. In fact, we are going to be buddy reading the next book in the series starting, I think we're supposed to start it today, so I better check on that. And that's either going to be one of the last books I finish in December or the first one that I finish in January, but that is called Times Convert by Deborah Harkness. So that's one of my next reads, and I am thoroughly expecting to give it a pretty high star rating as well. Next, I want to tell you about The Fatal Folio by Elizabeth Penny. This is the second or third book. Third book. This is the third book in the Cambridge Bookshop series by Elizabeth Penny. Again, Fiona and I buddy read this one and absolutely loved it. Gave it 5 stars. Here in January, we should be buddy reading the 4th book in the series, which is called Hymns and Homicides. I've had it sitting on my shelf waiting on her to get her copy since mid-November because it was supposed to come out and be in her hot little hands at the end of November as well, and the UK just kept pushing it back. Hopefully, here in a few weeks, she will get her copy and we will be able to buddy read that one. But The Fatal Folio is one of my absolute favorite books of the year. We read it in January, and it's still in my top 3 reads for the year. And then my absolute number 1 favorite read of the year so far, we do have a couple more days, but my number 1 favorite read of the year is The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hacklett. I do not own a physical copy. I desperately would love to own a really pretty physical copy of this book. It is beautifully written. There are so many turns of phrase in this book that just make me want to have them as artwork in my home or tattooed upon my body. If you don't like tattoos, I'm sorry, but I love tattoos and would love to have some of these quotes as a tattoo on my body. This is a series, so this is the first book in a series. I haven't read the second book yet, but basically in hell there is a library, and it is a library of books that are ideas that never got written or books that were started and never completed. And it is not a part of hell. It's not like demonic or anything. It's just this giant library of like what ifs. And there's a librarian, and every once in a while, stories kind of characters come out of their stories or stories come to life, and the librarian has to like put them back. Uh, but then things go awry and they go on a huge adventure, and I don't know how to describe more than that. The main character, Claire, is one of my favorite characters I've ever read. It's thoroughly just a beautifully well done, amazing book. If you have not read it, I would suggest that you do. Um, Absolutely my favorite read of the year. I have the second book as an audiobook, and I'm looking forward to reading it, but I think I'm a little scared that it's going to let me down because, traditionally second books are not quite as good. But we shall see what happens because I will be reading it sometime in the near future. Those are my stats, my top 4 and 5 star books for 2024. I would love to know if you've read them, if you want to read them, if you want to know more. If you read any of these that have more books in the series and would like to buddy read them, or if you just want to do a buddy read with me and have something in mind, let me know in the comment section down below. I will talk to you guys again soon. Until next time, stay safe out there, guys. Bye.